We're going to be checking out America's massive military airplane that's named after a peace star. Let's check out this plane and see exactly why they came up with this name.
Meet Fred, the largest strategic airlifter in the United States Air Force.
Hey, Fred. Fred's just a normal... Surely this isn't the plane, right?
Fred is a weird one, with many unique features that boggles your mind, like the 90-degree rotating landing gear, the fact that it can kneel down, the ability to travel in reverse, yes, in reverse, and its strange passenger deck with seats that face backward toward
Alright, that's weird. But can't planes travel in reverse anyway?
the rear of the airplane. Being a strategic airlifter, Fred can transport anything, be it submarines, trucks, or intercontinental
Hey, let's go,
ballistic
Fred!
missiles. Except for one thing, which would have looked so cool on Fred's resume.
It's massive.
But it's not what you think. Now you're probably curious who this Fred is. Well, Fred is the nickname for Lockheed's C-5 Galaxy transport aircraft. I just couldn't say earlier what Fred stands for, because YouTube doesn't like profanity during the first 30 seconds of a video. But since we're in the clear now,
makes sense.
Meet Fred. Ridiculous economic disaster. The C-5 Galaxy got this nickname because of the enormous cost overruns during the development of the C-5 Galaxy.
The name is
ridiculous
economic disaster.
The C-5 Galaxy got this nickname because of the enormous cost overruns during the development of the aircraft, which was due to the ever-changing capability requirements by the U.S.
Is there going to be quite a few different airplanes in this? Because that's not a peace
Air
star.
Force. But aside from Fred, the Lockheed C-5 Galaxy has other nicknames, like Big Mac, Cumulus Illuminus, and Linda Lovelace.
What?
Ooh, I see some of you who are lucky teenagers in the 70s recognize that name.
I don't.
Linda Lovelace was an American actress who specialized in adult films. The C-5 Galaxy can kneel and take huge loads from both ends. And that
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no. It can kneel and take huge loads from both. Okay.
The C-5 Galaxy can kneel and take huge loads from both ends.
Right.
And that reminded some people of our late actress. So before we get into the unique features of the C-5 Galaxy, you should probably know about Fred's relationship with Boeing 747.
Oh, that's too funny.
The 747 can do some stuff that Fred couldn't.
Hey, look, Lindsay. Last time I seen Lindsay, she can kneel and take it from both ends. Hey, so can this plane, man. Let's call it Lindsay.
During the 1960s, Lockheed, Douglas, and Boeing competed to design a new large military aircraft, the C-5 Galaxy. While the U.S. Air Force considered the Boeing design to be superior to that of Lockheed, Boeing lost the competition to Lockheed's less expensive design. But don't feel bad for Boeing, because they went on to develop the highly successful Boeing 747 civilian airplane, which took advantage of the high bypass engine technology that they had developed for the C-5A.
Oh wow, is that how it came about?
There are lots of speculations that Boeing 747 came out of the C-5 program. It appears not to be the case, as Boeing's C-5 design differed quite a bit from that of the Boeing 747.
Right,
But enough with history.
I'm pretty sure the Boeing 747, isn't that like one of the most famous civil planes?
Of the Boeing 747.
It is, isn't it?
But enough.
I know
with
it's
history.
a Boeing plane.
Let's shift
so
gears and go in
most
reverse,
popular.
just like Fred can. But there's a problem.
Can we not call
the
the plane
C-5
Fred?
can travel
Call it Lindsay.
backwards on the ground using reverse thrusters, it doesn't have a backup camera like today's cars do. The solution is to open the rear cargo door, where a spotter would sit. All it takes is to advance the throttles off of the idle just a little bit on the reverse thrusters for Fred to move backwards. And there is no beeping when going backwards, like you hear on trucks and bigger vehicles. But the truth is, many aircraft can back up on their own.
Then again, surely no one's going to be in the way of that plane going backwards, right? And I was going to say, I'm pretty sure a lot of airplanes and stuff can go backwards.
Thrusters, be it an old Saab 37 Viggen or military transport aircraft like the C-17 Globemaster or an older C-130 Hercules. Similarly to military aircraft, commercial jets like the DC-9 can also travel backwards using reverse thrusters, but they almost never do. See, reverse thrusters are most commonly used during landing to decelerate a fast-moving aircraft, by reversing the direction of thrust. With a few exceptions, civilian aircraft are banned from using reverse thrusters
What is
to
that?
back up at airports. And that's why you typically see a small tug moving the aircraft.
Wait, I'm pretty sure in the UK, they don't use this. Do they? Or maybe I just don't see it. Maybe I don't see it. But no, I'm pretty sure. Hey, someone's gonna have to tell me in the comments. I'm pretty sure they reverse in the UK. I'm pretty sure they do.
Out of the gate. The ban is mainly due to
And
safety
I'm not
concerns.
oh, I
as
don't
the
know.
reverse thrust can stir up debris that can damage the engine or anyone nearby. Reverse thrust is also very loud and consumes fuel unnecessarily. In addition, new high-pass engines cannot safely use the reverse thrusters until they're already moving.
Wow, maybe they're either pushing it and I don't see, or they're using a truck and I don't see. Maybe they're not actually
Sounds like
reversing.
reverse thrusters can be pretty dangerous on the ground. But what would happen if you reverse the engine's thrust mid-flight?
Oh my god. Oh
You may
no.
be surprised, but thrust reversers are routinely used mid-flight on the C5 Galaxy. According to pilots, Fred's wings produce so much lift that the airplane doesn't want to come down from altitude. But with a little encouragement, by putting on thrust reverse on the two inbound engines, Fred descends quite quickly.
Hey, let's go,
In fact,
Fred.
reverse thrust can be used on many aircraft while in flight in order to speed up the rate of descent, which could reach between 10,000 feet to 18,000 feet per
Damn.
minute. The C5 Galaxy can also carry passengers, since it has a 73-passenger deck above the cargo hold. But unlike commercial jets, the seats on this deck are facing backwards for one simple reason.
Why?
Back in the day, Lockheed discovered
I would
that
hate to actually on planes travel backwards. Oh my god, that would be a nightmare. That actually be a
rear-facing
nightmare.
seats are actually safer for passengers compared to front-facing seats. That's because when aircraft come to a sudden stop, say during a crash, passengers can put their head and back against the seat, and the seat would absorb most of the destructive energy of a crash.
Oh
But if
shit.
it's safer, why don't commercial jets have backward seats?
Oh wow.
According to one theory, it's because forward-facing seats are more profitable for airlines. Let me explain. Since backward seats need to be able to absorb the crash energy, they would have to take more strain from the passengers when compared to forward-facing seats.
Right.
Therefore, the backward seats have to be reinforced to absorb this energy, which would make them heavier. Adding weight to aircraft means increased fuel consumption, which translates to less profit for the airline.
Wait, so more profit for the airline, but our safety is screw it, bro. But then again, I think a lot of people would be. But then again, if it was the normal to travel backwards, you wouldn't think anything different. But if planes start coming out and you travel backwards, I think I'd rather go on the front forward facing plane. I don't know. I'll probably try it and see what it's
Kudos
like.
to Lockheed for going backwards in the name of safety and providing some nice resting area for the crew of the C5, which includes bunk beds and a nice lounge area. The washroom is
Oh,
roomy
look at
as well.
that.
By the way, it's my dream to fly in a C5, so if you get connections, hook me up. While the C5 Galaxy is the largest cargo plane in the United States Air Force, it is not the largest in the world. The Ukrainian AN-225 Mriya, which was destroyed by Russian forces, was able to carry 250 tons.
Oh my god, that's
Reported that a second
massive.
Mriya is now being worked on in
Wait, was that destroyed in the war?
a secret facility.
what's
Reported
that?
that a second was able to carry 250
That's
tons.
massive.
It's been reported that a second Mriya is now being worked on in a secret facility. Apparently, all the essential components for a second airframe had been previously manufactured. But with Mriya gone, for now, the largest
That's
cargo
huge.
airplane is the AN-124 Ruslan, which is able to carry 150 tons of cargo. The C5 Galaxy, in comparison, can only carry 125 tons, which is still a lot, as it equates to 25,844,746 ping pong balls. But on a
How many?
4,700, a lot, as it equates to 25,844,746 ping pong balls.
You know what? That's a bad example because ping pong balls on that light, like even 25 million, I'm like, is that even heavy? You know what I mean?
But on a practical
so
note,
light.
you can fit one CH-47 Chinook tandem rotor helicopter inside Fred's cargo bay. Or you could fit 3 AH-64 Apache helicopters.
Free!
For Tetris lovers, removing the rotor blades and stabilizers allows for fitting 6 Apache Fred couldn't carry.
Another
That would
Fred.
be the Space Shuttle. If you're wondering why the Boeing 747 could transport the Space Shuttle, but not the C-5, it all came down to the tails. The C-5 has a T-tail, which would have been affected by the airflow turbulence created by the shuttle. It was the 747's regular tail that won the competition. But what's interesting is that even though the C-5 is capable of airlifting
Why is the plane carrying a space shuttle anyway?
main battle tanks, they rarely do. Fred is capable of transporting 2 M1 Abrams tanks at the same time, but the US Air Force would rather not do that. The first reason is that airlifting tanks is incredibly expensive and inefficient.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
A more efficient way of transporting tanks and even other armored vehicles over long distances
Trains.
is by rail or sea. As a result, tank airlifts are incredibly rare, but they have happened on occasion. The largest airlift of tanks.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the main point of these is like just cargo, right? Just cargo what you need to get into like a into a military camp or something. Like doing a couple of tanks, you know what I mean? A couple of tanks out of hundreds, you may as well just take them all on a ship or train.
Using C-5 Galaxy happened in 1973 during the Arab-Israeli War, when Israeli forces suffered heavy losses and needed to be resupplied by the United States.
So they took 2 tanks?
The US government sent 29 M60A1s and M48A3s to Israel using C-5 Galaxies, while the remaining 200 units were transported by sea. And even though the C-5 could carry 2 tanks at once, it only carried 1 because of concerns over the airframe. Similarly today, while the C-5s can transport 2 60-ton M1 Abrams tanks at the same time, the sheer weight of these vehicles results in a lot of stress on the airframe, wearing out the airplane prematurely. This is why C-5s only carry 1 Abrams tank at a time, and only if an emergency delivery is required. It's worth noting that back in June of 1989, Fred carried 4 light tanks at once when it performed a world record airdrop. The C-5B airdrop.
Oh my god, I thought it was dropping the tank. I was thinking, what in the Fast and Furious movie am I watching?
42,000-pound Sheridan tanks and 73 combat-ready airdrops when it performed a world record airdrop. The C-5B airdropped 4 42,000-pound Sheridan.
No, they're not dropping the tanks.
Tanks and 73 combat-ready troops over Fort Bragg in North Carolina. The paratroopers, though, had to wait for the tanks to go first, because scientific research shows that a tank landing on you is directly correlated with ruining an otherwise fine day.
What in... How? What? How can you drop a... Bro... How can you drop a tank from out the sky? Is it not too heavy?
The C-5 also has one of the highest operating costs of any aircraft in the US Air Force at $100,941 per hour.
Jesus.
It's still slightly behind the B-2 bomber and the E-4 Nightwatch. One of the reasons
the E-4 Nightwatch is that the president's plane? Is that the president? It is, right?
One of the reasons for this high cost is fuel. Aside from the 125 tons of cargo, the C-5 Galaxy also has to carry fuel, and a lot of it. In fact, Fred's 12 integral wing tanks can hold 51,450 gallons of jet fuel, which is equivalent to 6 railroad tankers.
Jesus.
And sometimes that's not even enough, so the aircraft has to be refueled mid-flight. With all that weight, it makes you wonder, what kind of landing gear can handle the sheer weight of this massive bird? The landing gear of the much heavier Airbus A380 has 22 tires. But the C5 Galaxy, even though lighter, has an additional 6 tires for a total of 28. But that's for a good reason.
The heavy cargo, right?
The A380 can only operate out of airports with reinforced runways and taxiways due to its weight. But the C5 was designed so that it could operate out of all kinds of runways.
No way.
Fred's 28 tires and their unique design spread out the weight of the airplane over a larger area, which allows it to taxi on unpaved
That's so
surfaces,
satisfying.
including snow and
Like to watch.
even mud.
Aye.
Yes, surprisingly, mud, or more correctly, wet soil, does not interfere with the functionality of the landing gear, at least in this artificially soaked soil. During testing, it was found that Fred had the most difficulty, that is, requiring the highest thrust only on the first and second passes. After that, the C5 would have compacted the soil enough to make it easier to taxi.
Interesting.
Lockheed even performed similar tests on soil that was covered by 12 to 14 inches of snow. Not surprisingly, the aircraft had no issues taxiing around and even unloading its cargo.
Hey, there we go. If America's fine in the Antarctic, you're all good, man. Even if it's snowing like this, but chilling.
Finally,
Chillin'.
the C5 can also take off from unpaved runways, with most of the runway taking off as well. Several other considerations
That's
were taken
mad.
into account when designing Fred's landing gear. One aspect was the C5's requirement for a wide center of gravity range, which allowed it to transport mixed loads. Secondly, Fred has a unique ability to kneel to minimum ground clearance, which helps in loading the
Oh, God. Nemo can take the load. I can't get it out of my head.
cargo. As a result of this requirement, having 4 nose tires allowed for the spreading of the
Take
weight
the load,
of
Lindsay.
loading heavy cargo such as tanks. Additionally, kneeling is especially important as it can lower the cargo deck to the height of a truck bed, which facilitates loading and unloading operations. These special requirements meant that in order to fit the wheels inside the fuselage, the landing gear assembly had to be designed so it could rotate 90 degrees before stowage.
Wow.
In case you're wondering how the tires are changed,
That's so
you
cool.
could either jack the whole aircraft up in order to perform maintenance on all the tires and brakes, or you could do it individually, because each set of wheels can also be individually raised for easy access during
Oh,
maintenance.
sick.
The C5s were produced in 2 batches. One of the batches was defective to say the least. 81 C5As were produced between 1968 and 1973, and 50 C5Bs were produced between 1985 and 1989.
Wait, they was made this early?
The defects surfaced
I thought they would have
in
been
the
like
mid-1970s when
2010-ish.
wing cracks were found in the C5A fleet. The
Oh.
decision was made to limit the maximum weight on all C5As to 50,000 pounds. Then 77 C5As underwent a rewinging program between 1981 and 1987 at a cost of $7.1 billion in 2023 money.
Oh, it's only a little
The
bit of money.
redesigned wing
Not much.
featured a newly designed aluminum alloy, which didn't exist when the aircraft was first produced. New wings have a structural service life of over 50,000 hours. The C5Bs, of course, were already built with new wings and more than 100 additional system modifications that improved reliability over the legacy C5As. In 1998, the US Air Force decided to further modernize the fleet of C5s based on a study that showed 80% of the C5 airframe service life was still remaining. As a result, 52 C5 Galaxies were upgraded to the C5M Super Galaxy variant, with
There
the
we go.
remaining airframes being retired in
That looks badass, man. That actually looks badass.
2017. The C5M Super Galaxy featured new avionics, glass cockpit, new autopilot, and most importantly, new engines.
We got
with
the
General
upgrades.
Electric CF6 engines. The new engines, however, were not new technology. The CF6 engines entered service in 1971. Nevertheless,
massive,
they've been
aren't they?
upgraded over the years and were used extensively on Boeing 767s and 747s.
You like forget how
They
big
provide
engines are.
20%
Or the
more
planes
thrust
in
than
general.
the legacy TF-39 engines and were also much quieter. The fleet of Super Galaxy is expected to remain in service at least until 2040.
Alright, at 24, we're going to get a Super Galaxy. Really good video, though. Actually enjoyed that a lot. Meeting America's massive military aeroplane named Lindsay, which can kneel and take a load from both ends. But really good video. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that as well. If you did, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe. If you guys got any videos you want me to check out, let me know in the comment section down below. And I'll see you all in the next video.